Alright, so now we're talking about the Omakase experience. So we went to this place, we had booked a reservation for it quite a few months in advance. Um, you sit down at this kind of bar. There was only seats for around 10 people, and then I think a couple tables in private rooms in the back. I went with a group of uh, 8 of us. There was 8 of us total. Yeah, I think. Um, these are pictures, I think, of every course. I'm not actually sure if my friend took a picture of every single course or not, but it's probably pretty close. Many, many courses. It took about 2.5 hours total. So the way it works is you just sit there. The chef will make one for everybody of one dish at a time. He sets it out for everybody. Maybe he explains what it is to some extent. Everyone eats it. Go, oh, so good. There's a little pause. You can just kind of stop and relax and talk and have a drink, eat some ginger to refresh your palate, whatever. And then the next dish comes, and then the next dish comes. Oh, man. It was like if every meal I had had up until this point, even the really good ones, were like an episode of a TV show. Where, yeah, maybe there's some structure to it, maybe there's some themes, there's a good feeling of resolution, but I would only ever encapsulate it in like a 22-minute experience. This was like cinematic. It had a cinematic feel to it, where everything kind of led into each other, everything was crafted, everything was articulated in flavor and in presentation, that there was a meaning to it. I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words, but I was so happy. So this is miso soup. I think this is maybe the start. The miso soup had yuzu rind in it. And from that moment, or maybe an earlier moment, if this was actually later into the meal, but I remember it was either this or a piece of fish where they put a bit of yuzu rind on it. I was like, okay, this is actually like the next level. And I had a friend who didn't like the omakase at all, who complained about it a lot as soon as we left. And I think the root of his complaints, aside from the fact that it was really expensive and he felt like it wasn't worth the money, which, you know, that's another conversation. But his biggest complaints about the food itself was that it was like too over elaborate. And it kind of makes sense. Like the highest grade of sushi that you can get in North America, and also a very high grade of sushi you can get in Japan, like the place that I had the abalone. At places like that, it's all about the fish and the ingredients itself. And the appeal is that, like, wow, I get to really eat uni. It's going to be perfectly prepared and really well sourced. And it's about the fact that I get to eat uni, or about the fact that I get to eat otoro or sturgeon caviar or whatever. It's about those high grade ingredients. Whereas this was like another step beyond that. It's still using all of those high grade ingredients, but in a lot of the dishes, they're prepared in novel and exciting ways. And things like the rice was already infused with soy sauce, which my friend hated. At any rate, we'll cover a lot of these things as we go. But yeah, like the yuzu. Putting yuzu on fish. Like, oh, this is brilliant. That combination. This is brilliant. This was some fish. I don't know. It looks really good though, doesn't it? Oh, doesn't it though? Doesn't it though? This was something else. I think this is a scallop. This looks like a scallop. Is it a scallop? I don't know. This is the ginger over here. You're supposed to eat a little piece of pickled ginger in between courses because it really refreshes your palate. It's a very strong taste, but then it just goes away completely. And it's like you haven't eaten anything at all. So it's some sashimi. I think this is like torch grilled. I don't know. I'm not explaining this too well. There's like certain ones that I want to really highlight. These were really good. This is like wood ear mushroom, I'm pretty sure. It's like some very kind of delicate, very mild tasting mushroom that has been pickled. I really like pickled Japanese foods like pickled plums, umeboshi, pickled radishes. I'll buy pickled radishes, just buy the container and just eat all the time. Um, the pickled cabbage that they use sometimes, and pickled mushrooms. Oh man, oh it's so good. I'm not sure what makes it different than like North American pickling. I think it's like the use of the rice vinegars and stuff makes it a little sweeter and like a little more umami instead of just that kind of harsh vinegary taste. Um, I don't know. So good. This is something else. This looks like some sort of clam. I wish I could remember it better. Like, I remember eating this, but I don't quite remember what it tastes like. But here you can see the rice is like a little browned, and that's from the soy sauce being like woven into the rice. This is squid stuff, a little pile of squid. Pretty good. So you can see a lot of them, it's still more about just the ingredient. Something like this is kind of in between, where there's obviously some preparation involved in the ingredient, but the presentation is still very simple and like very focused in the taste. But here, you can barely tell, but this actually has like a glaze on it. You can see here that there's kind of like an oil that's been infused into this. Ah, this was, okay, so these are definitely out of order, because this was right at the end. This is the egg. That's egg. Can you believe it? We talked in the previous video about the Japanese omelet, about the many folding layers technique and the super frothy fluffiness and stuff. And this is just that taken to such an extreme. This was like a moe food. That's the only way I can describe it. Its cubeness and cuteness and everything about it just endeared itself to me in a way that I just wanted to protect it and cherish it and spread the word of it gospel-like to all my friends. It really felt like I was in love with this cube of egg. And even though my feelings could never be returned, even though it contained the capacity for just this ever-flowing custard-like quality of love, sweetness and light and infinite, even though it would never acknowledge me in the way that I would acknowledge it, I still loved it. And so I consumed it. Oh, I love this cube. What a beautiful cube. Look at it. Look at its perfection. Approach it as if you were an ape at the beginning of 2001. Space Odyssey. Oh, what a beautiful egg. This was, looks like eel. Was it eel? It could be eel. I don't know. it was good, I'm sure. This is like another fish. There was a really nice assortment of fish that I hadn't tried before. This might have been amberjack. All of it like really explosively, deliciously fresh. You can really tell when fish is really fresh. Like obviously it's more important that you just don't get not fresh fish. Like past a certain point, it's good enough, that's for sure. But then it does feel like granulated the entire way up to the ocean. There's something that just starts depleting from it as soon as it dies, and you want as much of that stuff as possible. This was like a vegetable of some sort. It just kept coming, and watching him prepare it right before your eyes, knowing what was coming next and kind of anticipating it. That was a lot of fun too. And the chef and the other chef were both very personable, excited to speak or to try their English with some foreigners and stuff. And I had a chat with, there was a couple sitting next to me on the other side. It was just a really lovely evening. It was one of those evenings where everything just seems to be kind of flowing together, that you can make friends with anybody, that the world is your oyster, so to speak. This was also after the first day of Comic-Con, so it was just like such a bizarre juxtaposition between the two. Here we have some squid. Again, really super fresh, with just a tiny little bit of salt on the top. which was a very nice offset in flavor. And oh baby, that's the Otoro. A very, very fatty tuna. The most expensive part of the tuna. The thing that drives the price of tuna up to like millions of dollars per fish or whatever. I read that they had set a new world record for most price paid for a single fish recently, but I don't remember what it was. I want to say it was like over $1 million. So you can kind of see the same sorts of thing as the beef, the really high-grade beef that we were looking at before, with the marbling of fat. But with the tuna, the texture is closer to something like the uni, where it just instantly dissolves in your mouth, even without cooking, even without emulsifying the fat and making it homogeneous. The entire thing is like just light as a feather. And yet at the same time, the taste is so substantial. The taste is like such a rich, savory flavor with just a little outside hint of sweetness. I don't know, it's indescribable. The Otoro, it's so nice. This is just toro, I'm pretty sure, like regular tuna, or maguro, I think, even. Which I quite like too. I don't even like this strictly worse than the Otoro. It's like a little more fishy, and the texture is really nice. That it has a little bit more of like a spring to it, more of like a bite. It's good. Oh, this is the one with the yuzu on top. Oh, look at that. That's just genius. How'd they come up with that? You just grate a bit of it using one of those like shark skin graters that more just kind of like instead of just shearing off intact chunks, it kind of like juices and squishes and grates all at once. This one was one of my favorites. This is some sort of silverfish, maybe mackerel, I don't know. It's good. Oh, this was like a skewer. I forgot about this. Yeah, they even gave us the skewer with like onion, and I think this is tuna that's been grilled on it. And this is a mushroom that was infused with like wasabi. It was very good, and then some other greens. Uni, 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 uni. Oh, look at that! Look at that! We already looked at a picture earlier of the other uni order that I made. So after the omakase period ends, so omakase is just, I leave it to you. Like, it's just, I entrust you with this. You just eat whatever the chef prepares. And then after that period, while you're still at the restaurant, there's like an a la carte phase where you can order whatever you want. So we all got some more Otoro, and I got another uni. Uni, 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 uni. Just look at that. Look at the very slight granulation. You can tell how the egg sacs form. Like, you can see this is like the main vein. I'm sorry if this grosses you out. I just think it's fascinating. And then you can see how they kind of build off of each other out from there. And you can see the outline of each little granular egg. But as I said, the whole thing just kind of explodes and melts as soon as you put it into your mouth. Like, you don't really distinguish any of the granularity, and yet at the same time, I think that's what makes it so intensely flavorful, is that there's actually like all of this surface area packed into it, if that makes sense. I don't know, man. It's magical stuff. Oh, I want some so badly now. But it's not easy to come by here in landlocked parts of Canada. And this was at the end, we got a dessert that was like melon covered in tofu, sweet tofu paste stuff, whatever that's called. And that's it. That is my eating tour of Japan in 100 and some pictures. The omakase, of course, an absolute highlight. Definitely the best meal of my life. If you're curious, it was about 200 bucks all told. Definitely the most I've ever spent on a meal, a single meal, but I would do it again in a heartbeat. Yeah. So I didn't eat too many like absolutely crazy things. I'd say the major meals were this one at the traditional Japanese inn and the omakase and the all-you-can-eat beef. Oh, and I guess the dim sum too. That was pretty substantial. And then the rest of the time we kept it pretty sane. You know, we went to moderately priced places or the good old konbini. And I think that's a good way to go. Like, I definitely recommend kind of finding one cuisine you're really particularly interested in and splurging like crazy on it. Because Japan does have that high of a ceiling. Like, the quality is there. You can reach for those Michelin stars. But then, don't feel like you have to go out of your way to eat something expensive or novel every meal. Just see if you can find something at convenience stores you really like, because they're so cheap, and it's probably going to be so good. Yeah. Oh yeah, fantastic time. Japanese food is so good. So good, so good, so good. Even the hot dogs that come out of vending machines. So good. Look at this. He really piled it on for the a la carte order. Oh, oh, man. Oh, baby. All right. Yeah, that's enough for now. Next will be videos about shopping, I guess. Otaku shopping and other shopping. And yeah, I don't know. I have a few other ones planned. But let me know if you have other ideas too. Things that you suspect I might have done while I was in Japan that you'd like to hear me talk about. I'm open to anything. Yeah, okay. Bye bye.